How you guys doing?
Good.
Good. All right, go ahead.
First up, before we get to some rookies, what do you think of what you've seen of Rice so far?
Yeah, he's looked good. He's come back strong. He's been working hard to get to this point. It reminds me of last year where he was going into this part of the year where the second year he just looks like when these guys start learning, like even with Xavier right now, you can tell he knows where he's going, and so those guys are looking sharp.
Matt, last year, you guys obviously talked all offseason about throwing the ball deep, and
yeah.
it didn't really materialize.
Yeah.
What can be the difference this year to make that a reality?
Well, we talk about talk is cheap, right? You can't talk about it. You gotta be able to do it. So I think it's a mentality of every day in practice, trying to make sure you stress not only the importance of talking about it, but then doing it, in practice. And there was times where we were, but I think it's our job as coaches to emphasize it more, and then let these guys go out there. And then their mindset too is, cutting it loose every now and then. And not everyone is going to be perfect and incomplete, but it's equity.
Matt, do you feel like Pat trusted his protection enough to allow you guys to do what you wanted to do in that part of the game last year?
Going back and looking at the tape, what I thought was interesting was there was times where maybe we think that didn't happen, where he wasn't trusting it, but then there's times where he was, and there was a breakthrough. I think it was more the consistency, Adam, of matching the two together. So there's times where there's great time to throw the ball, and the route wasn't open, and some of that is because of the scheme that we put in, or vice versa, a guy's open and we miss it. So as long as we can show those guys the why part of understanding that, then we go ahead and take that into where we're at now. And so far, up to this point, it's been beautiful with the attack mindset.
Yeah, Pat mentioned last week that you guys have encouraged him to try to get the ball down the field during OTAs. What's that process like? Just telling him, hey, throw the ball down the field, or is it a little more involved than that?
It's both. I mean, we have to be able to put the plays in that give you that. But then at the same point in time, then you got to pull the trigger. You got to take that shot downfield. Now, that's execution amongst the O-line, protecting Pat, taking his proper drop, so getting the depth and working his feet. The wide receivers running the proper depth on their routes, and then letting it go. And then we got to try to put in the right plays and then obviously call it at the right time. But it's a mindset, and you got to stick to it. And it's just it's constantly every single day, not just every week, every single day, and then it just becomes reality.
Couple more. Brett said back at the combine with this that maybe Patrick has seen too much at times. And maybe defenses are not doing the same things to him that they used to. Is there a little bit with him in this process of maybe unlearning things that he's learned?
Probably a little bit, and I say it in this point that, number one, he has so many more plays that he's played, having 8 years in the league. There's a lot that goes into it, and so sometimes it's good. It's kind of a reset to get back to some of the basics, and he's seen a lot, and a lot of it has worked. So now it's like, okay, where's that balance of us as coaches of seeing where we've been the last few years, where he's at individually, new players coming in and out, new timing, and so like kind of putting all that together. So the good part for Pat is he wants that. He came in here after the Super Bowl, the first day we had him, and he was so locked in, and it wasn't this, angry, pissed off at the world, like gotta get back at people, revenge thing. That's not what it was. It's just it's a calm, professional want to get better and use it in the right way, and it's a strong positivity in that room right now. It's been great.
We're gonna go last three. Sam, P, Adam.
When you have that mentality from the quarterback, I just wonder what that does for you as a coach.
It means a lot, and Pat's always had that. We've always had it. For whatever reason, it really hasn't come to fruition for many different reasons, and we talked about with some of the defenses, some of the things that you see schematically. And so what we need to do is make sure that we do our job to help him and help the players schematically as much as we can. And I think we take a lot of pride in that. It's a challenge as a coach. You want to help your guys and put them in great position. But when you have a guy that feels that way, we talk about it, but then you get out there to practice here in OTAs and you see it, it's like, okay, here we go. And now we got to make sure as coaches he hears it every day.
Adam mentioned the protection. I'm just curious, Josh Simmons, your thoughts on his college film and then initial impressions working with him?
College film, phenomenal. Really liked it. You can see athleticism, recovery if he gets beat. And you talk to his coaches that he has, and you just listen to the want that the kid has. Obviously, he had the injury, so it dropped him a little bit. But I've really been impressed with his professionalism since he's been in this building. He's really locked in. He's doing everything he can do up to what he's allowed to do with the injury, and so that's all he can do. And he's got a great group of guys on that O-line, and Coach Heck and Coach Matei teaching him. So he's in a great spot, and I think we just got to keep him going arrow up. But man, his film is really good.
Last one, Anna.
Matt, how have the things that you've worked on with Pat this time of year in the offseason changed since he was a rookie and just kind of getting into the NFL? How have those kinds of things changed since?
Yeah, there's been
years or whatever
sure.
he's been in the league?
There's been a lot. Obviously, the first year when we had him, it was just getting out of the huddle. You've heard about that, the calling the plays. All that stuff's easy now. The defenses that we see, I think right now more than anything, it's us being able to work routes with these wide receivers, these tight ends, these new running backs. But for Pat, we always want to try to pick something that we can get better at and let him really lock in on, whether it's schematically or something that we did last year. And I think, for us, everyone has numbers and everything, of downfield throws and accuracy, inaccuracy. They do it, they don't do it. That's numbers. But the video shows what's going on. And so we spent an inordinate amount of time breaking that down this offseason and watching it together. And, for what it's worth, at the end of the Eagles game, I know the score wasn't what we wanted, but there was a pretty good throw at the end of the year there to Xavier. And I think that we're excited to get back to some of that.
Go back to his rookie year. Like, what kind of stuff were you working? I mean, was it literally, hey, here's how you call a play in the huddle? Literally.
We had him talking into his cell phone. I mean, he was yelling his first play into the huddle. The defense could hear the play. We had to tell him to chill out. And then, like, his ankles were touching on a snap under center. He was all gun, so his ankles were touching. Your ankles don't touch when you take a snap under center. So we had to work on that. Little things individually, but now we're much broader, much bigger, and he's at a different level, and he's in a really good place.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, see ya. Thank you.
Appreciate everyone being here. A lot safer today than we were yesterday, but with that, we had a great practice, and really it's been a great offseason, but I'll open it up for questions.
So can you take us through both Omar and Ashton individually?
Well, the two really good. I mean, when you study the draft, our scouting staff led by our general manager, Brett Veach, they do a great job, and they were guys that we identified and had opportunities to really get around, bring them in for a visit, Zoom with them, and they both love football junkies, and they're really good players.
What stands out about each of them as players?
Well, they have great motors. They're powerful, they're explosive, they're sudden, and both of them at their school where they represented were great in their role. When you look at Omar, when you broke down his snaps, this past year, he led the NCAA in pass rush win ratio by interior tackles. And then Ashton played all over the place. He played end, he played inside 4-eye, he was powerful, he was explosive. When he went back to the year before, his sophomore year, he had 11.5 sacks. He was playing more on the edge. This year, they moved him inside a little bit as a 4-eye, kind of like Felix did when he was at K-State. So both those guys are going to bring great energy to the room, and they're doing that now.
You mentioned the win rate that Omar had in college, and his max snaps in any one season was 301. I think he played 225 last year. How do you ramp up that pitch count with maintaining the win rate and maybe the productivity?
Well, when you look at, when you go back and you look at, you got to remember now he's played 11 games. That snap count when you look at 17 probably looks a little low, but he probably played about half the time. He was their sub guy. He was their nickel guy. He could do it. You just got to keep working with him on that, and I have no hesitation that he can play first down or third down.
What's the biggest thing as a unit up front y'all want to improve on from last season to this year?
Well, I'll tell you, obviously not winning the Lombardi Trophy, that's number one. We didn't play our best game in that game. The Eagles did. And I thought we left, like the first couple of years, we went back to back. We were finishing on the quarterback better, just little things. We just got to make sure when we have an opportunity, you meet with the guys. This is, of course, all voluntary, but they all want to soak things in. And when you go back and you look at the plays, we had opportunities to put the quarterback down in critical situations and had him in our grasp. That's number one. And number two, just continuing to develop and get better and really finishing. Finishing the drive, finishing the game, finishing the play to put the quarterback down and get back to the level we were at.
Sorry, you mentioned this is voluntary. Just what does it mean to have Chris Jones around for this period of getting to know the rookies and helping the younger players?
Phenomenal. It's just it's great. I mean, we've always had a high. This is my fourth year now, high number of attendees. But having Chris around, Chris has been here almost every day, and he's been great he's a great leader. He's in great physical shape, and he's working hard, but he's also taking the time with the rookies. And for those guys to see a player of his caliber doing that at this time of the year, it's invaluable.
Chris, one of the things that you guys used Chris on in the Super Bowl was trying to do a different thing with the tush push. There was a lot of discussion about the tush push. It's going to stay in. Just what are your thoughts on that? And you guys were trying some things that were a little bit different than others. Is there some way to stop this?
Well, I mean, you got to get lower than they are. You got to have a better surge, and it's a good play. And, I mean, the study shows it. I mean, the week before against Buffalo, no one could stop them. We stopped 3 out of 4. I believe 2 uncritical situations. So it's just a way of, it's the rugby play. And I guess if they're pushing, we got to push. And then we got to push a little bit better. But we'll stop the thing when the opportunity presents itself again.
Coach, what parts of Felix's game do you want him to refine for this year?
Felix, when you go back and look at all the reps from his rookie year to last year, I mean, he flashed a lot. And what I mean by flash, he made a lot of really good plays. And to me, talking with Felix, it's just about consistency with that and really be able to sustain that through the year and playing more downs in the game.
Last one, anyone?
Well, Matt Nagy is now healthy this offseason. Do you see a different, approach from him coming in and wanting to have a good season?
Well, you look back, when Charles first came, he was healthy. He had an off season. Last year, obviously, he didn't, coming off the injury in the playoff in the Baltimore game. But he's at full speed, and he's healthy, and he's hungry, and he's working hard.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. What's going on? Doing well. All right, that's it.
With Noel, what are the kind of first impressions of him? And Spags thought he kind of had a bad day today, but how's he kind of looked overall so far?
Yeah, I'm gonna leave that to Spags. What Spags just said. I think the kid is his head is spinning a little bit, a lot of volume, but he's playing one position, corner. So I told him he's got to get ready to play some other positions, and so for that one position, he needs to just continue to grow and pick it up as we see him growing into the player that we hope that he'll turn into.
Through your lens, what did you feel like Christian Fulton, what made him a good free agent to bring in?
Yeah, just his competitiveness. I liked him when he came out of school, LSU, and so I look back even on my notes, and he was just a guy that would compete. And so just looking at the tape and just knowing that, okay, free agency hits and we don't have a chance to land a top free agent all the time, and so having the chance to land Christian here, I think his competitiveness is going to be one that's going to help us out.
What does he and other moves mean for Trent's versatility more so this year?
Yeah, I mean, Trent is still our number one, and so he's at the outside position. I'm quite sure that Spags has a little more, we'll put a little more emphasis on possibly trying to move Trent around if we can. And so, but right now, Trent is the number one outside corner. And if we get to a point during the season where we can slide him in the inside, that'll be great.
you guys have had great leadership and with some older players, and now Justin was one of you guys who was a good leader. Who's the characters who might step up and kind of take that role?
Yeah, I tell you, Justin was a very vocal leader as well as doing it on the field. Not everybody has that quality with talk and also can show you how to do it. I think the room is going to be a little more quieter in the sense that that vocal guy may not be in the room right now. But when you pull your eyes back and you look at the room, you try to look at guys like of course, the Trent McDuffies. You're looking at the Mike Edwards. And so, but I think, losing a guy like Justin Reed, what he did, again, not too many guys can do.
Is that vocal leadership something that's learned, or is it something that you already got to have inside of you?
I think you already have to have it inside of you. I mean, one of the things that happens at my house, you come to my house, I have a cane corso. So I didn't have to teach her how to protect the house. Right. It's just within her. So you come to the door, she's after you. All right, so. Yes.
What did you see from Hicks last year that led you to believe he can handle the role and you're going to ask of him this year?
Yeah, his ability to be able to have instinctive movements, and we started switching him out. You guys probably saw that midway through the season, whereas anytime we got into the red zone, I threw him in there, and he was a red zone safety. And to go down there and play red zone safety, you need to be able to think fast. And so his ability to understand, 2x2, 3x1, and some of the routes concepts, not saying that he's great at it, but he's improving. He's always ascending. And so I think just his ability to be able to play dual roles. He can play the strong and the free safety as well as play the dime position. And he flashed that last year. Now, Jay Reed played a lot of that position as far as dime. And so hopefully he can continue to ascend.
Last year with Brian, did you see a little bit of the residual of that surgery and coming back from the ankle injury? And how does he look this year maybe compared to where he was a year ago?
Yeah, I thought he actually came back great. I mean, you would not have ever even known that the kid had something wrong with his ankle, and he never complained. He never missed a rep. And so I don't think that was an issue at all. I think B. Cook is in a position right now whereas he has an opportunity to step up and be the captain of the defense and be the leader, as was asked a little earlier. And Brian is a vocal guy for sure. And so, but I think, as far as you look back and you think about some of the injuries that some of our guys have had, I don't think that hindered him at all coming into this past season.
A couple more.
Not a Chiefs particular question, but I think you're a unique person to talk to about this. These guys are coming through now who have gone through college with NIL, different things. You've got a son who's involved in that side. I mean, just kind of what are your thoughts about what you're seeing there? You got any advice for your son working through this stuff?
Yep. You know what? Save your money. That's what I would say. Because the NIL, a lot of these young people, whether it's male or female, some of them are thinking that they're going to go to the next level, which is where we are right here sitting. And so you need to understand if you're getting, $25,000 or if you're getting $500,000, you need to understand that it goes by fast and it's not promised that you're going to become a pro. And somehow, some way, if these young people can understand that loyalty means something when you stick with the program. But at the same time, they're seeing coaches jump. So how can you tell a player not to jump? So if a coach is going to leave after a year, how are you going to hinder a player from jumping into the portal? And so one of the advice, one of the things that my wife and I gave my son is that, pick a college that you can see yourself graduating from. And so when it comes to the guys that are coming into my room that are coming from NIL programs, you do see a little privilege, guys that feel like, okay, hey, I'm entitled to this. And then they find out right away that the NFL means not for long. And so, and I tell them that, and I constantly preach that. And, some of these kids are coming in and they thinking that they are going to be God's gift to the NFL. Well, the NFL was around a lot longer than the NIL. And so, and it'll be around a lot longer after you're gone. So I just think these young people just need to make sure that they save their money and understand that it's a great start, as we all wish we had when we started in the real world.
So it's a little bit of a different challenge when you're dealing with a young player coming out through some of this?
It is, but I think when it's really going to hit the NFL, and especially our rooms, is probably in another 2 to 3 years. All right, so because right now it's kind of an influx up and down as far as the NIL, but I think it's really going to hit where we're getting everybody who's coming in, they're all NIL babies. Because right now in our room, there are some people that are speaking against the young people who are coming in from NIL programs. And these are older veterans. And they're like, man, I wish I had, that when I came out. And so that movement is going to start going towards where the entire league is going to be NIL kids that are coming in. But right now, we still have a strong base of guys who have some loyalty. Dustin, you guys are going to talk to here later. 15 years at one team. I was in New York with Michael Strahan. I was 14 years there. Michael Strahan finished his entire career in New York. That loyalty part, a lot of guys need to understand, chase longevity. Don't chase money. Chase longevity. And I tell young coaches that. Longevity is what you want. People talk about me staying at one place, but you know what? Why go somewhere else if you're happy with where you are? The grass isn't always green on the other side. And some of these people are finding out when they hit the portal, when they get into a situation where they have to make a decision. It's life lessons. And if a kid is making X amount of dollars more than their parents, they're not going to listen to the parents. They're going to listen to the broke friend who don't have anything to lose, and he has all kinds of debt. And so somehow, some way, when that movement starts to come into the NFL, it's going to probably change a lot of rooms of entitlement for some of these kids.
Thank you, Coach.
All right. All right. Thank you, guys.
$1 million question, Josh Simmons. What have you seen so far? And also, specifically, when you haven't taken a first-round offensive lineman in 12 years, what's the process for you as far as when Brett comes with you to say, here's a guy to look at, and especially with dealing with the injury? What was kind of the timeline and process?
The evaluation process really doesn't change from year to year, and I don't necessarily know where Brett and our scouting department's heads are at, so I just evaluate the draft. I get, say they read my report, they mix it in with the others, but definitely, saw Josh as a first-round talent. We knew he had the knee, so the process here is job one, we got to get him healthy, so he's in with Rick and his staff. He's been doing a phenomenal job working with those guys. And then little by little, he's been doing more and more with us out on the field, so it was nice today we were able to get him a few reps.
It seemed like the first time he was able to do team, I guess, just how did he come out of that? And what did you see in terms of that?
Yeah, well, the first thing, he came out of it really well. First thing you can see is his explosive nature. I mean, everything he does is super quick. So we're working on fine-tuning techniques. He's able to do individual work within, certain limits. And, so as we hone in on the techniques, I mean, we don't want to take away from his athleticism. That's one of his A-plus strengths.
How is Kingsley taken to the guard position?
Yeah, very well. I mean, Kingsley's a guy that has great versatility. I think he can be phenomenal in their guard. We're still getting him a little bit of tackle work. I think he can play left tackle, right tackle in this league, either guard. He's another guy that's super explosive, very strong. He can give us a good, powerful presence inside. And I think he's having fun with it.
What makes him better suited to that spot than what he was doing last year?
Well, I don't know if I'd phrase it that way, but I think what makes him well suited to play guard is his size and strength. You really like some guys that can move people in there at that spot. I think he can do that, or firm up the pocket. We tell our guys we want him to firm that pocket at 3 yards, so his strength. And then he's just growing as a football player, whether it's at guard or at tackle, simply by being around that much longer, gaining experience, knowing our language that much better, knowing defense that much better, just experience.
Andy,
Last couple.
How do you look back at that situation with Kingsley a year ago? If you had the benefit of knowing what you know now, how do you just evaluate what you guys did with him a year ago?
Yeah, I think, we were hopeful that he'd jump in there and take that thing and run with it, knowing that there'd be some growing pains. Like we've done with some other players in the past, whether it was Laurent Duvernay-Tardif, we said, hey, rather than, wrecking a guy's confidence here, he might need to just take a step back. And so, Coach made the decision, hey, let's take a step back and still let him learn and grow, be ready to go. And we had to plug him in there a few times. So I don't think I would change how we did that.
We learned that Brett and Trey's team are working on a long-term extension. I guess just how's the communication been with Trey throughout as he's kind of navigating that process?
Minimal. I don't really communicate with them. I'm just working on the guys that are here.
Last one.
Yeah, Andy, with how the final game ended for you guys last year, in terms of what you can control, what did you learn from that Eagles attack that can help you adjust accordingly?
Well, there's certainly something to take away from every game, win or lose. And, in that game, obviously, as an offensive line, we got whipped. And so I wouldn't say we use that as motivation. But anytime we step on the field, we want to be the ones that are controlling the line of scrimmage. So that's where we're at with that.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Joe, what did you learn about yourselves in the last year's Super Bowl with some of the deep passes? I guess what did you guys learn about yourselves?
Well, it was great to hit them, eventually, late, and we knew Xavier could do that. So that part of it was encouraging. Utilizing that earlier, getting to that sooner, putting in the guys in the best spot, that was a few of the takeaways. And then this time of year is just always great because you can audit where you were, assess everything that you did in the past. We're on the prowl for all sorts of new ideas and staying on the cutting edge of the past game and trying to get more explosive. So you just kind of use it as a rebirth and then start back from scratch.
We heard so much from Pat about wanting to utilize that this year, the deep pass. I guess, how do you guys make that reality? How do you get to that point from here?
Yeah, this time of year helps with just the chemistry, and everyone runs, especially the deeper the routes go, everybody's angle as far as the pass catchers and their speed and coming out of the breaks is just a little bit different. So the quarterback's getting the timing with those guys, getting a feel for how they run it, and then just utilizing them, continuing to stress it, to go top down, and to let those guys run and really utilize their talents.
As you think back to the Week 4 Rice injury, how did that really change everything, and what does it mean to now infuse him back into the mix?
Yeah, it's great. It was, and I think we've said it before, it was devastating on like a personal level, and for all the guys, everyone roots for him. He's such a great locker room teammate and a competitor on the field, and you could just feel sort of everything starting to click, and the breakout that he was about to have or that he was on the verge of, everyone could sense it. So the devastation was just for him personally, and then the team component and how we were going to move the ball and score against the defense, that kind of came secondary. And that challenge of trying to score points and just move the ball against defenses, that's always kind of on the top of our minds. And so having Rasheed back opens up a lot of things, but then just his personality and him being around the competitor that he has, it raises everybody's game.
Joe, with what Vic Fangio and them threw at you in that final game, how much did that give you guys a jolt to maybe tinker with things here and there with the audit that you did?
Yeah, it's definitely motivation. That's for sure. I mean, you look back and it's definitely motivation and lights a fire to put our best foot forward. And so the biggest stage, everyone was watching, and to come out the way we did, that leaves a lot to be desired. So that what he did, how we played, all of that just fuels why we're here right now, what we did in the offseason, and then into training camp, and then leading into the fall.
So what Xavier did late in the season, especially just the different route combinations that he was running, how does that change just your guys' approach with him as you head into camp and this year?
Yeah, it helps. So utilizing his speed and him on a bunch of the top-end stuff deep down the field is critical to his game. Him being able to catch underneath in traffic when a hit is imminent, working second-level defenders, him displaying that now just opens up a whole nother window and really forces defenses to cover him at all three levels. And so everybody knew that he was a threat at the top end with the speed. And then you kind of have to put on film and demonstrate that you're willing to go underneath, go across the field, make some catches in traffic. And we love to utilize him on those types of routes. The defense is kind of in a wait-and-see approach with some of the guys to see if they're willing to do that. And he showed he was, and that he was a threat with the ball. And so it kind of just gives him, again, just threatening defense on all three levels and really the width of the field as well as the vertical. He has all 52 yards.
It wasn't just a Super Bowl, but he had a couple of deep passes earlier in the playoffs as well. Do you look back at the back end of his regular season and him proving that he does run those other routes as a reason maybe that?
Yeah, I think it all complements. Yep, I think it all ties in. When defenses have to start taking away all three levels of the field, he can really start selling routes that he's won on and got production on at the second level, and then break back out and run by people. So it helps when you're in a man coverage, when you're in zone coverage, where the eyes of the defenders are, all of that stuff. Being able to be willing to do it, to be good at it, and then to have production that the defense has to acknowledge will help all those levels.
We're going to go last to Bahe and Adam.
Joe, you mentioned the fire lit by motivation, but also the audit and being on the prowl for new stuff. How much different is the audit and the prowl for new ideas after the way the season ended than it would be in a normal offseason, which I guess lately normal has been winning Super Bowls?
Yeah. The audit itself, it's not as much a difference because of the way the game ended. The audit changes, or I guess the inspiration changes just in terms of the guys that we have that we know that are coming back. So this is one of the first off seasons where a lot of our pass catchers have had a year in the system. And so we're not necessarily starting from new or trying to figure out the best way to utilize guys. We have an idea of what our guys can do. And even though Hollywood missed a few games, we have an idea of what he can do. So the audit now is to complement things that we've done in the past, to continue to build on some of the guys that showed what they can do this season. So it's been a little bit different just because we anticipate some of those starters coming back for the first time.
So it's not really like some kind of reinvention. That would be overstating it anyway, but you see ways to really harness this differently by what you've got coming back and what you know about everybody now in ways you haven't recently.
Yeah, and then to build and to continue to take that next step and stay one step ahead of the defense and to continue to complement and let the guys flourish with what they're good at and then continue to help them grow too. Yep.
Last one, Adam.
Hey, Joe, back to the issue of trying to reestablish the deep ball. Do you feel like Pat trusted the protection consistently enough last year to allow you guys to be able to do that the way you wanted to do it?
Yeah, I think he did, and he stood in there and delivered a ton of passes that I think when we went back and looked throughout the whole season of the pass game, your respect and admiration for him really grew because of what he was willing to do and how he was willing to stand in there. It all ties in together, and sometimes whether it's the protection or up front gets a lot of the highlighted attention. It's all three levels really that can have an impact on going deep and completing some of those passes. So the receivers making the plays down the field, the protection up front, but it's really all 11. And when we were looking at it, and me specifically, that's really the focus, is how can each guy play their part into continuing to help us complete some of those deep passes, not just the one or two guys that gets highlighted.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks.